Our final tutorial here, how to implement shapes, which has just got one little trick to it really. Not that hard, but in case you're not able to figure it out yourself, here's how you might do it. So just like everything else, I've got a global variable. I set it to be circle at the beginning just as its default value. And I've got two button functions that just say, okay, change the shape. So the way you would do this, and the reason I wanted to show this to you, I'm just going to get rid of all these things, is down here in my draw, basically here's the shape. I'm drawing a circle right here. So the first one's easy. If shape is a circle, then we draw the circle, right? So I'm just putting that inside the click because I want click to function the same way. And then here I could do maybe an else because there's only two choices, circle or square. Or if I had more choices, I could do an elif. So this is the only trick. What do I do if it's a square? How do I draw a square? And how do I draw a square, especially that changes size, right? So let's just think about this for a minute. Maybe we'll even just paste in the circle there just so we can run it. I want a big, so imagine that this, instead of being a circle, imagine that this is a square. So it's a polygon is what we have to draw. And the polygon's got 4 points for a square. Here, 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 and here. They're going to click somewhere. They're going to click here in the center, and we want to draw up, like we want the Y value to draw up to the top here, and over to the left here as its first point. So we have to draw this point first. So we would take where they click and we would subtract the size going up, subtract the size going left, and then we'd get this point right here. So all we have to do is change this to a polygon and change these two values. The end of this is going to be the same. We want it to be still one line thickness and a color. So those things could be the same, but here we're going to create some points, right? And if you want to, if it helps you, set it up like this first. It's 4 points. So here's point number 1, here's point number 2, here's point number 3, here's point number 4. So we just have to create all 4 of those points. And so I said point number 1 is to the left and then up. So we would say, well, take the location of, this is where it gets a little tricky, the location of position 0. Remember that location has two positions, an X and a Y. So maybe this makes sense. If I say, okay, take the location of position 0, take the location of position 1, that's X and Y. In fact, what would happen if I was just to take this whole thing and copy and paste it into these? Okay, so I've got 4 X and Y values. They just all happen to be the same. Would that work? Well, it's not going to work because I didn't actually on my own make the shape. So let's change our default to a square so that it by default uses the square. So I click and nothing shows up on the screen, and that's because it's drawing, a tiny little 1 pixel, but I don't even know if it's actually getting 1 pixel or not because it's basically a nothing square. It's so small that it can't show up. But I'm not getting an error, which is a good thing. That means it's working, right? Okay, so we've got 4 points. Now all we have to do is adjust the size of the points. So we want to go to the left, that's negative X. We want to go up to the top, that's negative. So there's point 1. Point 2 if I have an imaginary square right here, the first point was top left. The second point should be top right. You could go around the square in either direction. What you don't want to do is go diagonal. You don't want to say top left, bottom right. That's not going to work. So if I want to go top right, the y value is the same, negative size. The x value, instead of being a negative size, is now going to the right. It's a positive size. So now I've got two different points. Now I want, let's see, I did top left, top right, bottom right. So that means that the x value is the same, but this time to go to the bottom I have to add size on the y value. And this is getting pretty long. I can actually do this if I want to put it on two different lines. So now I'm going bottom left, which means the x value is negative, but the y value is positive. Okay, so I've got four different points. You can look at, just to make sure they're different, minus size, plus size, plus size, and minus size, plus size. And when I click, I get those 4 points, and it draws me a square. When I go to medium, the size changes. When I go to big, the size changes. Notice where I click, and this is what's interesting about it, I click in the center, the square gets formed around me because I took the center point and I subtracted or added the size to get all four sides there. So that's the shape. And once you have that, using, changing colors is easy. Our clicking and our dragging all works. Oh, I should probably run it one more time. What happens when I have a small square and I drag it? Well, weird diagonal things. It's just kind of ugly. But, it's a square. I normally would only drag like a circle. Maybe I could actually cause that to happen. If I go here and I change the shape, I could say, no. Whenever I drag, shape automatically becomes a circle, just so I can stop people from making ugly stuff. Don't have to do that, just an option I thought of. You could also think to yourself, well, are there other shapes that I could make? Do I want to make it so I make 5 sides and make it cool pentagons happen when they draw? Triangles happen when they draw, so you could have some fun with the different shapes as well if you wanted to. Okay, that does it for all the various things on this assignment. Complicated, but each one taken one at a time, not that complicated.